let's get into it. Screen sharing here. This is how to raise from VCs in 2023. As you all know, this is a 3-day workshop around something that's going to be difficult for a lot of people. Forgot to put my housekeeping slide in, but let's make sure that everyone's screens and cameras are on. It looks like they are. I like reacting to everyone. Let's also make sure that you all are ready to volunteer. If I have any volunteers or when I try to call people up to talk, don't be scared. People that will work with me will get the most out of this. And even if you're not called up, simulate in your head, especially as I go through some of these decks. What would you do if I said this to you? How would you react? Because this is how it's going to actually be absorbed the best. So 3-day workshop. The first day, we talked a little bit about, are you in the right place? This is the idea of, do you know what venture capital is? Do you know what fundraising really is? Are you in the right place? Should you be here? I think for everyone that's still here, and we had some drop off, which is great. Like I said, if I can convince people that aren't supposed to be fundraising from venture capitalists not to do it, I think I've saved them a lot of time and heartache. Day 2 on Wednesday was, okay, we know what you're here for now, but do we know what it takes to convince someone? Talk through this idea of investor skydiving. Can we get someone to be excited by your shop? Can we get someone to get in a plane with you? And what does it take? What is that bar? We'll talk a little bit more about that. And then we talked about this idea that we need to get them to jump out of the plane, which is kind of what we're going to talk about today. Do you have a plan to get them to jump out of the plane with you and invest? As a reminder, I said this on day 1 just to get you all prepped. 95% of the work that I do is this. I'm trying to get as many founders as possible, the baseline that I know that they don't get around fundraising, so they can go out and be successful closing capital, building amazing companies, putting new technology out there, driving innovation. And I want to do it in the lightest touch possible. This is why we do things one to many. But there is still about 5% of you that want additional effort on additional support, community, coaching, et cetera. And so we have created a program called Fundraise with Confidence. We'll talk about that at the very end. Before we get into the 3rd day of content, in the middle of our program on day 2, we started talking about narrative and the different exercises and frameworks you use to get to a better narrative, something that will help convince investors that you have an exciting opportunity. And one of the encouragements I had was, we have to work on brevity. We have to work on this idea of less is more. And I acknowledge the fact that people have a hard time going from their 25 slide deck, their 20 slide deck, to the thing that I want, which is a punchy 10 to 12 slide deck. And the rubber band exercise that I challenged all of you to take part in was the 6 slide deck. This idea of, can we stretch you to a really, really short deck so that you reform when I let go to something that is much tighter and much punchier? We didn't know how many people would show up and actually send that through, but we've gotten so many submissions. Obviously, we can't do all of them, but I'm excited because I've prepped for a few of you all. I'm sorry I can't get to everyone. Obviously, we don't have all the time in the world. But I'll say this, even if we don't do this live, let me tell you what goes through my head when I review any deck, but certainly when I'm focusing on this 6 slide deck. This is something that you can do by yourself. You can do with friends and family. You can do with your colleagues and peers in the startup ecosystem. But I'm really thinking to myself, do I understand the problem? Will I understand the problem? Do I get the solution? Do I think it's unique? I'm thinking about, how does this become a big outcome? Do I see the light? If I squint, can I see where this goes? I want to know why this team is going to be able to win. And overall, I'm just like, is this exciting or interesting to me? So the 6 slide deck is a hypothetical situation, right? It's not real. You don't have a limitation around 6 slides. So when I give people reactions to their 6 slide deck, it isn't criticism like your 6 slide deck is bad. It's just to know, it's just to react and say, okay, listening to what Jason said, with my remaining 4 slides, can I address the things that he had to say? with the core 6 slides that I put together, should I do something different? Now, these are all things that will come up, and different volunteers will have different reactions from me. But let's start off with vision. Is Kevin Weaver here? And Michael, I do see your hand raised.
Present.
Oh, Kevin, how are you, man?
I'm great. Thanks. Great program, Jason. Thank you.
Thank you. Where in the world are you?
Boston.
Boston. How cold is it in Boston right now?
It's pretty crappy.
I spent 2 years in Boston, and man, those winters are rough.
That's enough.
Let's go through your 6-slide deck. Thanks for spending the time to do this. I think this will be instructive for everyone. So let's read through this together. I'm not going to go super into detail. We have a bunch of other people that want to get time with us, so we're not going to go through everything. I want to react to this with you and tell you, it's across the board. It's interesting, right? You are touching on things that trigger venture capitalists right now. So everyone loves SaaS. Obviously, AI is interesting. B2B is always stimulating for a lot of VCs. Any business that knows how it's going to make money. This is something that everyone needs to understand. Even in the 6-slide deck, Kevin, I think you have to think about how this is going to flow as a narrative. Now, obviously, it's 6 slides. I don't know what's going through your head, but my fear in the way you laid it out in that order is that you're not thinking about how am I going to tell this like a story, because it is very punch listy. It's like 40 years, $1 billion, problem, solution, traction at the end. And I just want to plant in your head and for everyone else, because I saw a lot of these where even in the 6-slide deck, y'all weren't thinking about how would this be a 6-slide story, right? Because traction might actually come somewhere differently, because you want to be able to say like, this is what we've done. The size is big. And by the way, we're doing this and we're working with these people. So think about narrative. The other thing that comes to mind for me, Kevin, when I read this is this looks like a very technical business, right? There is a technical solution in the back end. And when that question comes to mind for me of why will this team win on any technical solution, I'm going to be like, what about this team is interesting? So again, I know this is a hypothetical situation, but your team slide is 40 years of founder experience. If I were to choose 15 words to describe that, I probably wouldn't have just said 40 years of founder experience, right? Like, were you building a CPG brand? That's pretty cool, but like maybe not so applicable to vision and what you're doing right now. And the last thing I'll say is, as we're going through this, I'm like, problem, 90% of these cameras are dumb and unmonitored. A lot of the people you talk to, I would say 90% of the investors will be outsiders to the industry that you're working in. And you want to quickly allow them to understand the pain of that. Dumb and unmonitored means nothing to me. Like, I get it. Well, cameras are dumb and unmonitored, but what is the job to be done? Who are the people that are working on this? What is the money that's spent on this? What is the time that's wasted on this? So make sure that you're not just relying on these platitudes that aren't going to hit home in terms of someone thinking about a market and a size of market and intensity of problem. Okay, Kevin?
Yeah, no, great input, but thanks. I love the narrative side of it, Jason. That was perfect.
Great. Good job, by the way. Like even trying to put this out there allows people to react to the core of your business. This is why it's a great exercise and a way to get feedback that isn't bogged down by design, isn't bogged down by extraneous slides.
You bet.
Yeah. Awesome.
Thank you.
Next up is Anne Jie here. Good to see you. Where in the world are you? Cuba?
Mountain View.
Mountain View. Okay. I want to go through your deck because one, I found it fascinating. Two, I think there's some good learnings to see in this one that I saw applicable to other people. So let's put your 6-slide deck up. So left to right, top row to bottom row, that's the flow that Anne sent me. There's a slide that says financier OFAC sanctions regulate $100 billion a year, grave injustices, our vision for a better world. We want to enable sanctions compliant transactions where others shy away. And our first product is Lindo. It's sending money to Cuba. So first of all, I'll let you know that even in this, you want to make sure, like, what are people confused about? So what I'm confused about is Financier versus Lindo. Is Financier the name of the company, or is Lindo the name of the company? And is it like the first product versus?
Yeah, well, at first it was Lindo. It's always been Lindo, but I wanted to sort of broaden the scope of the company a bit more.
Okay.
So Lindo is more of like first product, and then but Financier I just made up like yesterday, 2 days ago.
Love it. Okay. Now this makes sense to me. I just want you to know that you're going to have to balance this a little bit. I'm not saying that it isn't balanced, but it was one question that came to mind here. So do you remember the two things that I said were important in convincing a VC that this would be an interesting opportunity? Do you remember those two categories?
The size of the
Yep, that was one.
opportunity and getting them excited.
Say it again.
Excited. Getting them excited. Can you hear me?
No, I can't hear you. Does anyone else know what I'm probably getting at here in terms of the second category? Team. Yeah. So there's something interesting here, but I have no idea why you're going to be someone that could actually get this done. And of course, it's only 6 slides,
Right.
but we have to focus on what the core of your story is and make sure that team is part of this. Otherwise, when you grow it out, you're just going to slap team in as like a afterthought. And team and why you're doing this is going to be really important. So team is not represented here. The last thing I wanted to say here is there's something special and interesting here. It comes from left field, which I think VCs are always intrigued by. The one warning sign for you that you can work on right away is that anything to me that has huge social mission to it, which is great, like it makes you feel good, but you immediately have to balance that out with making sure people understand you're running a business and not a charity. And I know that's not what you're doing, but you spend 3 slides of your 6, maybe 4, but 3 slides out of the 6, really hammering home this point of social injustice, vision for a better world. And I do love that, but just make sure you're thinking about how do I make sure that I let VCs know that, like, I want to solve a big problem in the world and it's going to be a big business too. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So, yeah, I had an idea of saying that it was high margins, but it was sort of hard to. I couldn't think of a way to sort of convey that in a slide, so I sort of just slip.
Well, look, the point of this is to call out things that you guys are going to have to focus on. And all I'm going to say is that, yeah, it takes time to iterate on these things, but iterate on it, get feedback on it, and dump some slides and add some other slides. I would say in the 6-slide format before you start adding one by one the slides so you get to 10, 11, 12 slides, and then feel like, man, this is great. Right, Anne? Awesome.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Let's quickly do, is Larissa here?
I'm here.
Nice. How are you, Larissa?
I'm good. Sorry.
Where in the world are you?
I'm in Brooklyn.
Brooklyn, very good. Also cold and rainy?
Yes.
Okay, your company is Join.
Mm-hmm.
Let me put this up here. So this is one of those decks that you had slides that you could use. Workplaces and employee expectations have fundamentally transformed. Companies feel the urgency. Culture remains unaddressed. We're changing that. Join is a cultural design platform. The timing is right, and we're ready to accelerate growth. Okay. So do you remember what I told Anne?
With the team?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's just make sure that you understand why team is important. I have this thing about HR tools, and some VCs may have this as well. So like HR tooling is, I think a lot of founders, when they think about SaaS, they think about going into SaaS too, because HR tools, because they're like, I've been an employee before, I've been an employee before. And so I know the pain, and bad culture is terrible. I don't know what your background is. But HR tooling can be hard because you're selling to HR teams, and HR teams buy in a very interesting way. It's like, it's a lot of times it's hard to apply a cost savings or time savings, which generally is where SaaS really, really shines. And so I don't know where you come in from, but like when you sell HR tooling to VCs, team is going to be incredibly important. And I think there are categories like this for all of you to think about, and why team is so important, because people are going to be like, does Larissa even know what it means to sell HR tools? Like, what about her makes me feel like she's going to understand this? Does she know what the enterprise sales playbook looks like? And so I don't know that background about you, but it's going to be interesting for you to answer that question. For many people, but also this category, being able to really illustrate the problem. This is a challenge for everyone. And everyone here should be like, okay, have I illustrated the problem well? Do I understand it? HR tooling is one of those things where, like, if you can't describe why this is a hair on fire problem or a 10x solution or save time and money in some way for any component of the ecosystem, you're going to have a hard time convincing people. And you do it a little bit. I just in slide 3, a little bit, but I think you're going to have to put someone in the driver's seat to really understand what this is, because HR tooling and a lot of other products that I saw out there, another company that we're going to talk about, you like listen to it and you're like, culture, yeah, culture's good, but like, how do you make this feel really, really real for venture capitalists? So that would be my challenge for you. And doing it within a 6-slide constraint is also really powerful. So I also know that, you took your existing deck and just sent me the 6 slide that you want to do. I would, and that's good, but like, I would challenge everyone here. If you want to do this again and you already had a deck and you were just trying to say, what were my 6 slides that I would use? Perhaps start from scratch and just do the bullet points to see like, well, how would I do this? It'll be pretty transformative in how you think about your story. Does that make sense, Larissa?
It does. Thank
Awesome.
you.
Great. Okay. I'm going to do just one more. I wanted to do a couple more, but I think we're running a little short on time. Michael, I saw your hand raised. I actually had planned on talking about yours as well. Is Michael B. Focal here?
I am.
Actually, I know you're here because I saw you. Where in the world are you?
New York. Suburbs.
Okay, that makes things easy. I know it's cold and rainy there. All right, so Shepherd, this is your business. It's going to be a pretty similar story, left to right, top to bottom. When making decisions, it's hard to know who to listen to. We end up searching for the right people to lead us to the right products. Shepherd automates this process to help you make better decisions. Last 2 slides. Shepherd reduces complexity to make better decisions, who we are. Okay. This is a bit of a reiteration of what I told Larissa, but I want to say a different thing. So when we think about problems and solutions, the idea of making decisions, it's hard to know who to listen to. This feels like a consumer problem that's in your head. Like you're like, oh, this was something that I wanted to solve for myself. But when we're thinking about consumer problems like this, you have to be able to plant this and describe this in a way that is much more tangible, and it makes people believe like, oh, a lot of people are going through this pain and problem. Like, of course, everyone's making decisions every day. We decide to buy on Amazon. We decide to buy a house. We decide to buy a truck. These are generalities that, yes, you could say about everyone. But how do we know that either there is a segment of the population that is like dying from this, that is just like, oh my God, I can't do this. I have no way of making a decision around X and I need a solution. That's probably not it, but I don't know. Maybe there is, because I make decisions all the time. I buy things all the time, and it's lightly annoying, but I somehow get it done. The other category of when venture capitalists think about solutions out there is, are you a 10x solution? You know, are you 10 times better than the way people are doing it today? And because like, if I go through a decision-making process now, which is like, I'll go to Wirecutter really quickly. I like Wirecutter. They give me 3 options. I'm like, yep, that's the purchase I'm going to make. Could it be better? It could be better. Michael says he's got a better solution. It's twice as good. I'm like, yeah, I don't really know. What was that website again called? I can't even remember the website. Well, I have to download an app. I have to make a bucket. I'm going to Wirecutter. If you were to say you're a 10x better solution for X, Y, and Z reasons, then maybe I'm thinking about it. So for all of you, especially the consumer solutions out there, just realize the bar is pretty high. We want you to make sure that you're like thinking about the way you tell this story and not just describing what it does. Like, you really have to anchor this in something that people are like, huh, wow, that is way better. Or like, huh, this is a huge problem. I didn't realize this segment of the population spent this much time, wasted this much money on trying to get this done. Does that make sense, Michael?
Definitely.
Cool.
So now I've actually the same question essentially that I had at the beginning. That's fantastic feedback. Thank you. What of that is, hey, no matter what other slides you have, you need to answer some of that in those slides versus it's okay to have those. Because some of that, like, yeah, I have some other slides that maybe answer that, but I don't want to, miss out on like, no, it needs to be in that slide.
Look, I think the constraints of 6 slides is meant to make sure that all of you know what's the most important things in your deck, because you want to start that, it's constraints, right? I'm like, you only have 6 slides in this fanciful world where no one will look at any deck that has more than 6 slides. So what would it be? Because like, I want to make sure,
okay,
in your head, you find that important.
Okay.
Right. And so for everyone, you get to 6 slides and it's painful and you're like, oh, this could be better. And I'm like, Michael, how could it be better? We're like, well, if I had 2 slides to describe the problem, this is what I would do. I'm like, all right, I'm going to give you one more slide. What does that look like? So then you add it and you're like, oh, all this relief. I'm able to describe this. And you're like, what else is wrong? Well, like, didn't get a chance to tell people the story about my background, why I got to this, whatever. All right, I'll give you that slide. Then you're at 8 slides. And then when you get to 10 slides, this is the punchiest version of your deck that you could get to. And you're like, man, this is great. It's an exercise. It's not necessarily how you have to do it, but like, I think it really helps focus people. All right.
Perfect. Thank you.
Awesome. Great. Well, thanks for everyone for going through that exercise with people. Like I said, this is something that I think is effective for everyone. And if you use that framework and have other people give you feedback on the deck, the 6 slide deck, one, it wastes less time for people. So you're like, hey, just review 6 slides. What were your questions? What do you think I'm missing here? What do you think was unclear? You can start iterating on that before you get to something that is punchier with 10 to 12 slides. Okay. So let's get back into it. Zoom, share. I was just telling Jonathan how good I am at jumping in between slides. All right, so we're back into recapping kind of what we talked about. Day 1 was all about transferring this knowledge around, am I sure that I'm doing the right thing? Am I raising venture capital for the right reason? And to remind everyone, I'm like, venture capital isn't the right answer for everyone. And if you're running a great business that not only shouldn't be raising venture capital, but doesn't necessarily need to raise venture capital, don't do it. Like, don't twist yourself in knots just to raise venture capital because it's the sexy thing to do, because you might be mentioned on TechCrunch, et cetera. Like, run a great business. And then day 2, we talked about investor skydiving, the analogy of like, what is your challenge here? Well, it's to say, can I convince someone that I'm a safe enough skydiving unit to have them even come in my shop and look around? And then can I get them excited to walk into a plane, fly up into the air, 10,000 feet in the air and look around? And then what we came to was like the third piece, which is how do we get someone to run out of a plane and jump with me for this exciting ride? And that was all this idea around building momentum. And we know that it's not that easy. I talked about 2 different ways of doing this. One being just building it over time, building your network, which is still a way for, it's out there for you all. But you all want to do this in less time, and it can be done in less time. It just has to be done really deliberately. So the idea is, look, high bar, time running out. What do we do? What is the formula for getting this done? It's challenging, but here are the 2 ways that will actually create the opportunity to build momentum in shorter amounts of time. It's going to sound pretty simple, but let me talk to you a little bit more about this. It's really about planning and then execution. So many of you, the reason that you're good at what you do and the reason that you're in entrepreneurship, is that it's like bias to action. Something's here that we need to get done. Let's get it done. Reacting to what has to be done by just, talking to people here and there and then being like, all right, let's execute on this. Let's execute on that. Let me tell you why this is going to fail for you. And this is the simplest way to describe that. Does anyone know what the Eisenhower matrix is, or has anyone seen this before? You can physically raise your hand. Kyle knows this with a big old thumbs up. Kyle, I just want to say, I appreciate the fact that you rotate your backgrounds. It's good for me to be able to see something new and interesting.
Thank you, Jason. OBS is the key
OBS
that everybody should get.
Nick knows this too. Cam knows this too. Let's see. Actually, Nick, you have your hand raised. Let's talk about this. How much do you know about the Eisenhower matrix?
I've seen it a few times. It's come up throughout my career at multiple places. And it's basically just a way to prioritize getting stuff done.
That's right. Do you have a sense for what I might say as it relates to fundraising? Probably.
No, not really.
Good. That's a good answer. I think that is a perfectly good answer. Okay. So this is what the Eisenhower matrix is. It's a framework that Dwight Eisenhower, our 30-something president, popularized around how to prioritize the things that you do. On one axis, we have the importance. On the other axis, we have urgency. Let me bring this back up, but there are 2 quadrants here that are super simple. One is the not urgent and unimportant quadrant. What do you do with those tasks that come up? You don't do them. It's like, that's not worth your time. They're not urgent. They're not important. Get them off your plate. The other quadrant that's super easy is the super urgent and super important things. And this is probably where you're spending a lot of your time as a startup CEO. It's like hair on fire, putting fires out, things are happening. What do I do? Well, I know what to do because it's the most urgent and the most important thing. The danger zone of the Eisenhower matrix is the upper right-hand corner of super important, but not urgent. Super important, but not urgent. Unfortunately, all the tasks that go into preparing for a fundraise, not all of them, but a huge number of the things that go into planning for a fundraise fall into this danger zone of highly important, but not urgent. And the real problem here is that by the time you all think that some of these tasks are becoming urgent, it's going to be too late. You guys will be like, I'm working on this, I'm working on that. Okay, I want to go fundraise. I'm supposed to have 100 people on my list. Let's go start trying to do that. And it's like, Jesus, you didn't realize how much effort that takes. And it's like, oh, I'm going to start talking to investors. I need to get my narrative tight. This is taking me longer. I need more feedback. There are so many different things that won't feel urgent until it's too late. And so when I think about what the Eisenhower matrix says, is the way you break this and the way you solve for the upper right-hand quadrant is by scheduling. It's by scheduling this work ahead of time and saying, okay, we know we need to get these things done. How should we do it? Let's put it on a schedule. So for me, what I want you all to do is think about, remember those 3 Venn diagram circles about investors skydiving? I want you all to come up with a plan. Go through all the things that you're thinking through in awareness, some of the things we thought about. It's like build a punch list and do it. Set aside time, have a thought partner around this and be like, how am I going to get this time? Look at the time you have in front of you and say, what are some of the things I can do to build awareness in a short amount of time, create surface area for VCs to get more comfortable with us? What is the narrative work that I need to get done before I feel comfortable even sending out decks or pitching people? I haven't done this before. Have I practiced it? Have I ever done a mock pitch? Well, you're a CEO. You have a ton of different things. I guarantee you, if you don't put on the calendar that you're going to reach out to Oriana and connect Irina and Oriana and say, I want us to do just a mock pitch. If you don't do that ahead of time, if you don't put it on your calendar and just dedicate 30 minutes, you're not going to do it. Doing the one-on-one with your new hire, doing the sales call to close the next thing of business, all that will take precedence because it's going to feel urgent and important. And the last thing is building momentum. When we think about building momentum, it is all about planning this work ahead of time. So everything starts pushing forward. What we're trying to do is create a plan and an execution that drives towards calendar density. So this is a concept that I've become known for. It's not unique to me. Every venture capitalist kind of understands it. Everyone that has gone through fundraising and knows how to do it successfully instinctually knows about this. I happen to put a name to it. But it is the one concept, is the one organizing concept in fundraising that I think changes everything. And while it sounds simple, all the work that goes into setting it up means that if you've created calendar density, well, you've probably done a lot of the preparation steps appropriately. So the idea is most people, when they're running a fundraise, they're like, look, there's processes. Gustavo's trying to talk to people and he's like, look, I just got introduced to Zayshawn and Zayshawn Invest. So I'm going to talk to him. And Gabby is also an investor. Next week, I'll talk to her. Well, that's a loose process that doesn't create pressure in the fundraising process overall. What creates pressure and signal is a tight process like calendar density. So what you're trying to do is line everything up all at once, launch it all at once. So you get to your first meetings that are, call it 2 to 10 a day for 2 to 3 weeks. Now, easier said than done, but just thinking about what would I have to do to get to that shows you all the things that you'll have to get done. It's like, well, 2 to 5, 2 to 10 a day for 15 days. What is that? Oh, that's 150 names. Well, how do I get to 150 names? Well, crap, I'm going to have to start now thinking about how do I get to those names, right? So this is the organizing principle and the organizing thought that I think creates great processes all around. Okay. So just to let you know, you can do this, right? This is completely possible. It might feel overwhelming. There is a lot of work to do, but it's completely possible and you can do it. The fact that you all are here trying to get ready to go shows that you all have what it takes. So 100%, take a lot of these learnings and start executing on them today. Start planning this out. Look, so this was the main point of my teaching today, making sure that you understood the narrative exercise and then going through this idea of the importance of planning. I hope you got a lot out of that. I hope you got a lot out of the first 2 days. If it's okay with everyone, I'd like to tell you a little bit about the accelerator program I developed. And I'd also say stick around, even if this isn't for you. Honestly, it's like no skin off my back. But you might take notes, because if you take notes to understand what we cover, you can just DIY it. You can do it yourself and try to execute against it. So we're going to jump into this. I'd also just like to say, for the people that are in the live stream, I don't know if this actually worked, but we were live streaming to LinkedIn. We're going to end this here because it's going to feel a little disjointed if all you saw was deck reviews and then you start talking about a program that you don't understand. But if you want to learn more, you can go to fundraisewithconfidence.com, sign up for the wait list. In how you found this, tell us it was a LinkedIn live stream, and we'll send you a specific package with all the information you need to know, day 1, day 2, etc. Okay. So let me tell you about the best fundraisers. The best fundraisers, I believe, have a lot of preparation and know how to run the process. A ton of people talk about storytelling, and storytelling is a big part of fundraising well, right? It's the core product that you sell to people. But for my dollar, for my ounce of effort, there is no better part of fundraising that has this effort in, results out relationship like fundraising prep. So the more dedicated preparation that you put into to preparing, as opposed to maybe just storytelling, you're going to get demonstrable reactions to how the fundraise process goes. And I want to tell you a little bit about why it was built, how it was built, so you have context around this. I walked you through this before. This background for me, being in technology, being a venture capitalist, raising money, and then transitioning to this company building this. But I really kind of yada, yada, yada over this middle portion of, I was a venture-backed founder. We found a small exit. And then I started doing this fundraising consulting. Like it's glazed over for a variety of reasons, but I do want to tell you the quick backstory because it does give you context for why and how I built this. The 4 or 5 years before I started Adamant, I was a co-founder. I was a CEO of 2 different startups. I raised millions of dollars a couple different times. And I'll tell you, I mean, it was the hardest time of my life, the best time of my life in learning, but we never really found true product market fit in either of the startups. And so, you know what that's like. It's like grinding, pivoting, friction within co-founders, challenges with investors, trying to figure all that stuff out. And by the end of it, like, we were happy to have gotten the company to like a soft landing that we felt good about, that we could tell a story about. But as I was talking to my co-founder, Tim, we were like, so what do we think is next? What are we going to do next? And right. It was tough to think about what I would do next because I think you all have been there, or you all are there right now. Can you guys think about what it would be like going back to a job after, running your own company and building the thing that you really love? If you're like me, I was like, I don't really know how I could go back to working for anyone. I also didn't know what I would do. And then when I thought about the startup that I wanted to build next, I told him, like, look, I don't really know what I'm going to do next. I don't know where my expertise lies. And he was the first one to say, hey, you're really good at fundraising. Why don't you do something around that? And my first reaction was, wow, this, I am pretty good, but I'm not unique. And I don't think anyone has this problem. I don't think enough people have this problem where I should even try to help people. Obviously, he convinced me to at least start thinking about it, which made me start writing. So I started this whole journey just writing essays and building frameworks. But since then, it's actually built up a lot of steam. So I've written a weekly fundraising newsletter that across platforms hits 10,000 subscribers. We have 8,000 direct subscribers. And I've probably only missed 2 weeks in, I think it's more like 20 months now. published 50 episodes of a popular podcast called Funded, all around fundraising, stories behind it, etc. And I've done this program, a variation of this program for a lot of different organizations, including Silicon Valley Bank, Launch House, Latitude, USC. But there's one thing that I did which helped me decide to do something much more dedicated, which is I worked with one particular founding group that were highly technical, building a trucking logistics technology company. They wanted to go raise $1 million, and they just said, hey, can you help us think through this and decide what to do? So what we did together was like, I laid out what work they had to do, what process they had to run. And it was super successful. They wanted to raise $1 million. They raised $2 million, led by Google Ventures. And the realization was that, I wasn't talking to any of the investors. I wasn't making the introductions. I was just telling them exactly what they had to do. And it was incredibly successful. So what we realized was, oops, that's not what I wanted to show you. What I realized is that most founders are different. They're not technology for trucking, but they are the same. They are running the same process, and that I could generalize this and help a lot of people along the way. So let me tell you more about this program. I hope this is continuing to be interesting for you. But before we move on, in case I need to tell people this, I like starting off with, what is the accelerator program not for? I'd say don't even bother listening to the rest of this if you are any of these things. Someone that's looking for a shortcut. I always tell people, actually going through the program doesn't remove work, probably adds work, but it just adds the right work. It's like, here are the things that you need to do. You should do these things. There are no shortcuts here, unfortunately. Everyone's looking for a silver bullet. I don't have one. People that are trying to buy intros, program isn't like you get to buy Jason's network or anyone else's network. And in fact, what I tell people is any program that says you're going to buy intros, you should run away from, because purchased intros are the worst intros you could possibly get. And people that are in need of a quick fix, I think some people are scared on the call because they're going through a fundraiser right now that might not be going well. And there are no quick fixes, even this program. So that's also not going to be what FWC is. Who it is for? Well, it's for founders who are excited by what they're working on and just have that energy that we talked about before. It's like people that are excited about their why, the program that they're running, and want to do everything possible to get this done. And then also share that with a community, support each other. And one of the biggest things are just like founders that aren't weighed down by their ego and really just want to do what is right for the company. People that are willing to ask for help and take direction. When I talk about who it's for, these are some of the questions that people ask or comments that they have about who it's for. I'm not sure how to connect with the right investors, raise money, but it was painful. All these things are trigger points for me to say like, hey, like, we could actually help you. You would really like this. I have a disclaimer for the program. It's, I don't guarantee people will raise. No one can do that. No one can guarantee that you will raise, because anyone, even experts, can't be you and they can't be the product. So those are variables that are highly important in raising capital. So I won't ever guarantee people will raise. I also share awesome success stories, and that's just not like everyone's going to get this. It's like what's possible. My only responsibility, I believe, is giving you the right information and the framework that promotes high-end execution, all the coaching and all the pushing and the scheduling to make sure that you do exactly what is possible. And then your responsibility, if you join me, is to take what I teach, respond super positively, and just do the work and execute to the best of your abilities. So that's the disclaimer there. All right, the program. So this has evolved every single time. So I've run this 4 times now. And the great thing about people that continue to join or join later is that every time we make it better and better and better. And it's a reaction to feedback from past founders But here are the 5 modules. You can read about them. We'll send you the link to read about this. But the first principles, investor psychology, targeting investors, narrative and deck, and launching and closing, these are all very interrelated. And, we'll talk a little bit more about the stuff that you do. But read through this. There are a lot of actions that you'll take. This is the whole point of the program is action. It's not information, it's action. We know what to do, you just have to do it. So building an awareness campaign, learning investor psychology, writing the pieces of work that you'll need to actually execute a fundraise, that's all part of the program. So how it's delivered, and Jonathan, thanks for the note. How it's delivered. We have 25 plus video lessons on demand. We've re-recorded it every single session, every single cohort. This is why when I say 25 plus, it's not a specific number, because we're always like, should we add more? Should we add more? You get exercises, templates, and tools to help accelerate the work that you do. We're giving you access to a really cool program called Flow Club, which is on-demand live study hall, essentially. So workplaces, digital workplaces to get some of this difficult work done, and a community to join. There are advanced groups, though, the things that we push people towards, which also include live teaching, group exercise, deck guidance and feedback, pitch practice, and organized founder networking. We have one of our alumni actually in the crowd that I didn't realize would join. I might have her chat with you guys about it a little bit. It's cool to see you, Andrea. Let me talk about the value. There's a dollars and cents way to think about things where it's like, look, if you raise $1 million and you think this changes your ability by even 5%, look, it's, I don't know, $50,000. The bigger one that is really hard to define is peace of mind. Do you feel like you did everything that you could to maximize your chances? And I want to be able to tell people, these are the things that you should do. This is the hard work that needs to get done. If you can get this done, I feel like you've maximized your chances. At the beginning of this, I was like, join for this part because I want you to take notes, because you can DIY this. Look, I think there's a way to think about, if I could get a junior employee to help me with this for half their time, if I could get an expert consultant to help me with this, someone that has this background, maybe some advisors that I give equity to, and buy a community. If I could do that, snap my fingers and have all that lined up, even though that's not possible, you'd have to actually find all those people. I think we're looking at a minimum of 20K and 1% of your company to DIY this. That's my opinion. Last year for FWC For, this was the investment to join FWC. The core program was $4,375. We actually had 2 different packages, a basic version, which was just access to the asynchronous stuff and some office hours. But this year is going to be different. Costs have increased across the board. We're trying to make this a better program. We've hired more people. Production quality has gone way up. And so for 2023, it's actually going to go up. We're going to $5,100 as the core focus. But you all are in our pre-sale group, and just wanted to let you know we have pre-sale benefits. If you register before January 14th at midnight, we will protect you from those price increases and just keep them at what FWC For was. There is a page here, fundraisewithconfidence.com/pre-sale. Again, this is the package, but there's more that I want to tell you about here, because we know this program is hard to do. It's not like when I say you join the program and it's more work, it's not like, it's more work, but like you'll get through it. It's still hard, but we want you to win. It's like the point of this program isn't to just get you in and learn information. It's like, we want you to do the work that will help promote successful fundraise. And so I include an execution bonus. Like, I want to pay you money to get some of this really important hard work done. It's your investor target list, reps of your deck, email drafts that need to be written, and attending 5 study hall sessions to make sure that you get the work done. This is all stuff that we want you to get done. We know is kind of hard to do by yourself without any accountability. So if we incentivize that and pay you $500 to do that, like that makes us happier. So there's an execution bonus. Beyond the difference of pricing, we're going to do a pre-sale benefit, which these are strategy sessions. This is feedback. This is one-on-one coaching that candidly, I usually only do for Series B and C founders, and it's really not cheap. But for people that are going to join the program, if you join for Saturday at midnight, not only are you going to get the 2022 pricing, but the first 5 people that join will get a one-on-one pre-session strategy call. So we'll just join, talk to each other about what's going on, what you can do before the program starts. First 10 will all get pre-session deck and narrative reviews. So you'll get one-on-one feedback around what you're doing and be able to start iterating on that. And then everyone that does this will get our Superchargers product for free. I love the product. It's a $125 product that we're going to throw in there if you join. And Jonathan, I think, is sending me. Oh, cool. Okay. So I'm happy to say, let's see, Sakiko, Kieran, Nicholas Palufo, you're all in the pre-sale now. I love it. You joined. You're going to have access to all of this, the pre-session strategy call. Love to see people join already. Limited seats, just so you know. Last cohort in September, we had 35 slots, 5 of them unicorn, all of them filled. At the time, we had 5,000 newsletter subscribers and about 5,000 Twitter followers. This time, we're going to, if there's demand for it, we'll increase to 50 founder capacity. We've had tons of demand in the past. We're going to double the unicorns to 10. And just so you know, we've grown in the last 3 months. So 8 to 10,000 newsletter subscribers across platforms, more than 8,000 followers on Twitter, I think, and 900 people registered for this workshop. Additionally, for others besides the ones that I listed out, Nicholas, Sakiko, and Kieran, I'm going to add 2 more founders. If you guys want to sign up while we're on this call, I want to get coffee with you and just say hi. We can talk about fundraising. We can use that as another strategy call, or you can just build a relationship, talk about life, surfing, music, whatever. And I'd like to do it in person. I travel quite a bit to kind of talk to different groups. The cities that I spend the most time in are Los Angeles, where I live, San Francisco, where I have family, New York, where I used to live, Miami, Mexico City, and Sao Paulo. But we could also do it over Zoom if you're in a different city that we don't travel too much. But yeah, I would love to do an on-call, bonus call, coffee with me. So if you're interested in that, let me know. Andrea, I would actually like to talk to you. Thanks for sending the message, because Andrea has to jump off real quick. Andrea, sorry. I talked to my other friend who I always call Andrea. Andrea was in FWC 3. Yeah, I didn't plan this, but if you have anything to share about your experience, she's also very successful in her fundraising, which I'm so excited to hear.
You got it right. It is Andrea, so all good.
Oh, good.
Yeah, I just wanted to give a quick shout out because I wouldn't be where I am right now without that program. When I joined Jason's program the first time, I had done the process in all sorts of wrong ways, talked to tons of investors, very, not organized like he teaches you. And I would never be able to leverage any conversations. It would always be like, sure, call me back whenever, you have more to show me or whatever. So after the program, not only did I learn the process, but I also was able to get behind investor mentality, understand how like we have so many sensors that we are not even we don't even realize. So when someone's trying to sell you something, you can sit a mile away. And I wasn't aware of that when I was pitching to investors, and getting behind that mindset was very important for me. So yeah, I really have to jump, but I cannot recommend this program anymore. So if you guys have been struggling with this for a long time, I would suggest you do it.
Andrea, thanks so much for your time. Not planned at all. But look, I also wanted to say this face to face. I've been messaging you in the background, but really proud of all that I've seen you do. And I really love the shift in focus. I think it really just fits with who you are and what you do. So I think that's why you've been successful.
I appreciate that so much, Jason. All right. See you guys.
Thanks, Andrea. Okay. That was fun. Honestly, that really does warm my heart. I have a couple things for the people that are still here. Let's see. On-call bonus, about that. I also have a guarantee. It's basically, look, I'm not trying to take anyone's money and not actually drive the results that I know that I can drive. I have 100% money back guarantee. So essentially, if you take the course thoughtfully, actually watch the lectures, go to study hall, do the exercise, follow my guidance, and you're still not 100% satisfied, I'll refund your money. I will. All you have to do is send me an email and tell me what happened. Because if this ever happens, which it's never happened, but if this ever happens, I want to learn from it and I want to make it better and I want to make sure it never happens for another person that goes to the program. The guarantee is important to me because of three things. I'm not a grifter. I don't do these things. I don't do this program because for any other reason than I think it's impactful. And the only way that I can do this version of the program is as a paid program. But I believe in what we've put together, Jonathan and the rest of the team. So that's one. Two is that part of this is building a great community that includes founders like Andrea. And I only want people in the community who actually did the work and are happy to be a part of it. If anyone's unhappy, I'd rather pay them to not be in the community. And the last thing that I think is important and might actually speak to you all is that whether or not you raise, if you go through FWC, you'll grow tremendously. I am a big fan of saying, I love fundraise prep. I love talking to founders and be like, do these things because it'll make you sound better to investors. But it turns out when you do a lot of different things that make you sound better to investors, that make you show up in a way that want investors to chase you, you're essentially increasing the value of you, your network, the business that you're running. And so when we go through all these exercises, the little secret is that all I'm trying to do is make you run a better business. It's not like fundraising magic or anything. It's just, can I make you run a better business? And that's why the guarantee is there, because I think people that go through this will be like, some people decide not to raise afterwards, huge win. Some people put off raising, huge win. And some people are very successful at raising, huge win. And I think everyone that goes through it is like, this was worth 5 times the investment that I put into it. And quick results, I didn't update this slide, but people that have gone through this have raised between $20K and $30 million. They've done everything from sex tech to cybersecurity to Web3, CPG, brands, SaaS, fintech, et cetera. Really great investors have all invested in my companies. And one of our founders went on Shark Tank. I want to play a couple testimonials for you. I didn't think that I'd be able to have a live testimonial. So I want to quickly do a testimonial here, which is on. Sorry, I should have queued this up, shouldn't I? Here we go. They're just quick testimonials in case you need to hear from more people. Let's just play this real quick.
When we were raising our seed round 4 months ago, it took us 15 days just to do whatever Ashita did in 15, 20 minutes. So it's a super.
I've told you how much that course was helpful for us in so many ways. The number of compliments that we get on the deck, it's pretty crazy. And people are just like, this narrative, this story, everything is so tight. And I think that was entirely because we had your guidance through that process.
Amazing. This was so incredibly helpful. Like my whole body has chills. I'm just glad that I was able to get time with you before everything explodes for you. Being met you was one of the best things that has happened. I'm just being honest because nobody could ever answer to me. The investors talked about it, but nobody knew how to explain it. And that's the point. For me, it was eye-opening. And now I want to make sure that we follow, your advice.
I think it's super right on. I think this is like the first outside pitch, and I think like we're all workshopping it. And I think that could not be more spot on. Because like I've been involved in so many different perspectives on consultants and different people. And I think just taking a second to pause, Jason, and say, I thought that was super fucking helpful. I thought that was great advice.
And just 30 more seconds, if you'll bear with me.
Thanks.
Awesome.
Can I just ask one thing? Say one thing, Jason.
Yes.
Just wanted to say genuinely from my heart, big thank you to all of you guys. Really, really brilliant program. And because it was even a bit, for me honest, like for certain bits, like some of the things I was like, this is a bit wishy-washy. I'm not sure about this, but I did them. And then I saw the result after doing them. That was just my ego getting in the way. Really good. But the biggest thing is that you actually gave a shit about everyone's thing. And that really showed through. You gave a shit. That's really, really important. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay. Those are the last two testimonials. I have some time for Q&A. There were a couple of questions that people have been sending in that I want to make sure that I answer because I know this bothers some people. Again, we're still on the call, so in case you did want to get coffee with me, I haven't been checking. But fundraisewithconfidence.com/presale. If you have open questions, start sending them through, but there are a couple that I prepared because I know a lot of people have this question. Let's see. So one of the questions people asked was, when will the next cohort be? Because I have a lot on my plate right now. We don't plan these out in advance. It's really like deciding when there's enough interest for us to do another one, when we have enough time to iterate and improve on it. We're doing a lot of different things in between cohorts to work on our content and just build out our footprint. I'm also traveling quite a bit. So unfortunately, I can't tell you when the next cohort's going to be. I would, for this question, I think it's a good question. I will say you will never feel like you have enough time to do this. Like, you will always have a ton on your plate. And this is not to say you have to do this with me. I guess my encouragement is that you should start prepping to fund. If you think Fundraise is going to be in your future, you better start allocating 5-10% of your time on a consistent basis to prepping for that future, with or without this program. So start planning now, I guess. Can I include a co-founder in the program? In general, I'm open to this. So like if you have a co-founder, message me on the side and we can talk about it. I think there are a couple of things that we're trying to protect against. It's not that we need to charge for every head. It's that we want there to be consistent presence from people so that when there is community involvement, or if we plan on doing a group exercise and we say, we're going to have Faith, or we're going to have Eric, or we're going to have Andy involved in this, and Andy doesn't show up because he's the co-founder and he doesn't really show up. That's what we don't want, because that creates a shitty experience for other people. Can I have a discount? This is a question that comes up a lot. I know for a lot of startups that have never raised before and are in different situations, the investment is a non-trivial investment. But I can't accept everyone in the program. It's it's not infinitely scalable, even though I love infinitely scalable businesses. And I really don't want anyone joining that will only join with a little bit of discount and then just squeaks by. Like, if this is outside of your budget, I don't want you to join. I don't want this to be the thing that you spend your last penny on. I want this to be a part of the investment that you put into saying like, okay, this is how we're going to execute this plan, and this is part of it. So, and I also don't think it's fair to everyone if I give random people discounts. I talked about this. No. The answer is no. I'm in an Asian country. Can you change the time? This one is tough. I actually got this question last time as well. We kind of look at the distribution of where people are, and we're trying to make it so that everyone can try to find their way in. If there are founders in the Asian time zone that are actually interested, let me know. I'll take a poll to see if there's something we can do, but likely we are going to do this at 11 a.m. Pacific time, 10 or 11 a.m. I need to check with Jonathan, but it'll be Tuesdays and Thursdays at 11 a.m. Some people want to know, I want to start raising money much sooner. Can I get the content faster? So FWC is designed to compress preparation as much as possible. I don't really recommend anyone go any faster. And if you're going faster because you think you need to start raising next week, you fall into that Band-Aid category of like someone's trying to get a Band-Aid to fix a solution or fix a problem that is going on in their fundraise. And that's not what this is designed for. This is designed to make sure that you put the right time and effort in. For some people, if you absolutely still want to join and you're like, I just want to see the content, talk to me afterwards. We might be able to say like, look, we'll give you access to the library of content from before, but we have to talk to you about a few things. We don't want anyone putting themselves in a situation where they're like, oh, I just need this because things are going wrong. Like I turn people like that away all the time. This is not what this program is for. And then one other question, is there really a dinner with me in the unicorn package? I'm happy to say, yes, there is. Did it in LA, New York, Sao Paulo, and it was one of the highlights of my Q4 is meeting some of these people face to face and doing the dinner. So those are all the questions I have right now. But we have time for a couple more questions. So Stuart, do you have a question?
I do, Jason. You mentioned that there was a category of participants in the program that decided to delay their fundraising either during or at the end of the program. Was there any kind of consistent theme that cropped up as to why that was the case?
Yeah. I think the consistent theme is that they felt like, I think their initial thought that they wanted to raise was based on external forces and perception, like, oh, they should be raising. They've been in market for this amount of time. Other people are raising. And some of it is like, once you realize what it takes to do a fundraise well, a lot of people realize I would rather make the time, like I would rather adjust my budgeting and my runway in order to keep executing on the business and executing on fundraise prep so that when I go out, I have the best opportunity to do it. Like fundraising, if you go out and you don't prep for it, you could raise for sure. There's a part of the storytelling where it's like, yeah, you might see people that say they raised and got a term sheet in their fifth meeting. But for the people that don't, like, if you don't do it well, then you're going to spin up a fundraise, waste a lot of time, have to shut it down and then regroup anyways. I would rather you say, define how much effort you want to put into the prep. Let's put it in there and delay the fundraise if necessary. Does that make sense?
That does make sense. And a prior question that I asked a couple of sessions back was the fact that we're on this cusp of launching the product. So it's really kind of balancing out. Yeah. Exactly right. And deciding whether to focus on it now or push it to after launch. So thank you for the feedback. I appreciate that.
Of course. Angelina.
Hi, thank you. I kind of still want to understand, like, what's the timeline for the program? So are we with you for, like, is the cohort like 3 weeks, a month, and then we go out and fundraise? Or are we fundraising as that part of, like, are we going and meeting investors as we're part of the cohort?
No, it's about fundraising prep. So we will start together on January 30th, and we'll have 5 weeks together where we're getting you through it twice a week, sectioned off times, and then encouragement to join study hall throughout the week in order to actually get stuff done. By the end of the 5 weeks, the design is meant to say, if you had to, When you exit the program, you should have things prepped where you get hit a button. It's like, go. I would rather people take that learning and be like, okay, I'm going to work on it a little bit longer. But for people that are like, I have to do this by then, that's the design of the program. It's not meant to be like, we're starting to pitch and we're talking to investors and we should be in the middle of the program. Okay.
Perfect. That answers my question. Thank you.
Great. Brian, how available are you for feedback in the Essential program? So in the Essential program, less, but you're part of the community, which is run by me. So if questions are submitted through the community, we have the community answer, and I'm conducting all those things. You won't have that live time with me where I'm working within the groups. Ethan had a good question. My biggest concern is that I need accountability. Does the Essential program still have sufficient accountability? Depends on what is accountability to you. So there is a program, right? Like you're going to get the async stuff and we're going to tell you what exercise to do when. If you need someone talking to you, if you need to like join a live cohort, and if you need like there to be other founders that expect you to have done certain work, that's not going to be in the Essential program, but we'll get you all the information and we'll get you like the structure, if that makes sense. Let's see. Yeah, so Ethan, it is more DIY. What if we already have investor meetings lined up? Shira. I think, look, if you have investor meetings lined up, taking investor meetings where the goal isn't to try to sell them on investing, it's like, hey, glad we had a chance to connect. Like, what's your investing strategy? What have you seen in the media market? We're not raising yet, but we're preparing. We're going to go and run a full process. I think those meetings, and we'll talk about them in the cohort, about like warm-up meetings, are really, really valuable. To me, it depends on whether or not you're able to push off a fundraise so you can do fundraising prep. And different situations call for different things. So I can't give you an answer, black and white, Shira or Ethan, whether or not that's right for you. So, Brian, the payment plan, three payments are spread out over 2 months. So we take one payment right away, the next one at the end of the beginning of the next month, and then the next one at the beginning of the next month. So 3 payments spread out month. And is the program focused on raising from US investors, or does the content work equally well for raising in other regions? This works globally. It's really about what is the investor expecting? How do you fit into that expectation, and how do you best influence that process, that decision-making process through the narrative that you build and the process that you run? Okay. Guys, this is really awesome. I'm going to put this up again and just say thank you for everything. I just never expected this many people to show up, and just shows how many committed founders there are in terms of doing everything that you can to continue to push forward in the company, land investment, and just continue to driving forward. And so I'm excited to just even know your names, so like I can follow you on social media, see what you all do. Chuck from Friend App, I've seen your name a few times. It's great to see all the stuff that you're doing. Saka, I think I might have met you in person in Brazil, which is really cool. Irina, thank you for showing up for all these things. And yeah, just thinking of playing a little bit of Olivia Rodrigo because I went to her concert. But we'll end the session. Please say hi in the comments.
Michael actually had a couple questions too about the program.
Yeah.
Michael, are you still around? Oh, looks like he jumped off.
Jonathan, I had the same question as Michael did, so if you want to address it, so you got ears listening.
Oh yeah, Yeah,
I don't
go
know.
for
I
it.
don't know what the question is.
So the question was, so the Dex feedback, is that one time or is there an unlimited amount, or what's the estimated amount of?
Got it. It is, well, there are two ways that it's done. It's done via our team and also via the community. This is not a iterate until it's perfect thing. We can't scale that. We will give you all the work that you need to do to like get it to a good place, and then we'll provide the feedback, and then you'll have to work on that on your own.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yep.
And Lauren is asking, how often are the cohorts?
Yeah, that was the first question that I answered. We don't really know. Like I said, we don't specifically schedule when they're going to be. We will do more in 2023, but we haven't set the dates for them. Great. Awesome. Thanks everyone. We're gonna shut this one down. We went 10 minutes late, but thank you all for spending this time, and I hope to see you online or in the session in the future. See you guys.